Parts, parts, parts. We've got a lot of parts here and there's even more coming in. So we've got some big tasks to do coming up. Now, this all started when I went ahead and ordered a new diff. Now, why did I have to do that? Well, when I first bought the Corvette, there was a small amount of diff whine, and that's because the ring gear and the pinion weren't meshing correctly, and it creates harmonics, and it's known as a diff whine. So I knew that when I bought the car, the diff was on borrowed time, and after a couple of hot track days this summer, I think I made it worse. So we're going to be replacing it. We've got a stage 2 RPM transmission C5 Z06 diff. The stage 2 part, they just use some C6 Z06 goodies in there. So that's going to be hopefully a lot more reliable. Because we're replacing the diff, we get into the mentality of while you're in there. And what that means is while we're in there, we're going to be doing things such as a torque tube rebuild. We're going to replace the clutch. While the car is going to be up in the air and out of service, I've got some suspension bushings we'll be replacing, some brake items we'll be replacing. So this is going to be a big job. And the whole point of doing these maintenance items is to make sure that the car is reliable at the track for a long time to come. My name's Kane. Bernie, he's not going to show up. He doesn't want to take care of any of this work. This is a big job. Welcome to Bernie Rubber's Garage. This shall be a reading from the Haynes Corvette repair manual. So in order to remove and replace this diff, this is what we're going to do. Remove the wheels, remove the exhaust. Take out the shifter assembly, remove all the clutch lines, take out all the wiring harnesses, drain the differential. Remove the outer tie rod end, remove the lower ball joint, and remove the shock absorber. Remove the rear subframe, pry out the drive axles. Remove all the drive shaft bolts from the bell housing. And then we're going to struggle trying to get everything down and out of the way, out of the car. In the front, we had to undo the clutch line from the master cylinder as well as disconnect that high pressure line. Good morning, welcome back. So yesterday we got this drivetrain out. It consists of the torque tube, transmission, and the differential. Now the whole point of pulling this all apart is to change the differential, so that's what we're going to do next. Actually, Bernie, did we show them the brake master cylinder? Can you rewind, have a look? And if not, let's add that in. We need to bench bleed the master cylinder. So we went ahead and replaced the brake master cylinder. We torqued the nuts to 21 foot-pounds for this car. The lines are connected, now it's time to re-bleed the entire system. So the next item to get done is to weld up the titanium exhaust that has a slight crack in it. If you remember from our track day inspection, I pointed out that the passenger side muffler had a little crack at the flange, and you guys know I like doing things myself, but this is a titanium exhaust, and that requires TIG welding as well as titanium filler rod. I don't have that, and I don't have the skills to do it, but I do know some people that do. Pure Performance Texas, my good friends over there, the ones that created the seat bracket as well as the harness bar for the Z06. So I'm on my way to go see them. Let's see if they can patch this up. So next on the list, we've got to rebuild the torque tube. And it includes some rubber bushings, some SKF bearings, as well as a couple of other pieces. Great success! We got the pilot bearing out. So this was a tough one, and I'm not even going to show the footage of how many hours I spent trying to get this out. I tried to rent a tool from O'Reilly's. It was too large. The diameter of the inside bore was too small and it wouldn't fit the tool. I bought a 3-jaw puller, had to shave that down to make it fit, and then I broke it. I tried the old grease and paper towel method. It didn't work. Finally went and bought a slide hammer pilot bearing tool just from one of those cheap auto tool stores. And after damaging the internal race and pulling out all the sleeve bearings or pin bearings, finally managed to make it wide enough to get an actual tool in there, and finally got it removed. So the new pilot bearing is in the freezer. That's cooling off, trying to shrink it just a little bit, and then we'll tap that in and continue on. One. So from those last clips, you saw that we've got the driveline pretty much in. Now we just need to support it by adding back in the rear subframe. Let's see what we've got going on so far. So from under the car, we've got the front bow housing bolts all torqued in, and this is just holding on by the transmission now. So I'm going to move pretty quick and get the rear subframe all bolted in. Okay, so now we're at where the bow housing and torque tube connect. And these two lines here, you can see this is the clutch hydraulic line. Make sure you get that oriented the right way. So if it points towards the rear of the car, it's not going to fit. Well, it'll fit, but it's really tight. So make sure that that 90-degree bend is moving forward so that you can connect it there into the clutch line. This line here is our clutch extension, our clutch bleeder, and that goes all the way up to the master cylinder. That way it's easier to bleed. So those are a couple of tricks and tips to getting this thing in. As you can see toward the back there, it's all in. So with the exhaust back together and the interior back in, everything's all done. That's the powertrain maintenance items complete. So the next project we're working on is the control arm bushings and ball joints. Now to do this, we need to remove the control arms, and we'll get that started here shortly. And then we'll push out the old bushings. Now I don't have a hydraulic press. I mean, you know, who's got room for that anyways? But what we do have is my good buddy has let me use his ball joint remover kit. And so we're hoping with the use of a vise and some other tools, we might be able to just push those old bushings out. The new ones are from Borg Motorsport. They are Darwin Teflon infused bushings. So the Teflon is supposed to make them less maintenance hungry. Once the old bushings are out, we'll push the new ones in and then reassemble everything. The ball joints come tomorrow, so once those are here, we'll push them into the control arms, lower the car. Hopefully we'll be done. Let's see. All right, let's get started removing the control arms. And we're on to removing the control arm bushings, and this is just a tip that if you don't have hydraulic press, these actually press out pretty easy. So I'm using that same ball joint tool. I've got a receiving cup that's slightly bigger than the diameter of the bushing, or that washer that's on the side of the bushing, and I'm just pushing straight on it. And so what you'll see is that it's just going to push all the way through. Now if it doesn't make it all the way, then you can use the vise and you can sort of grab onto the bushing and tweak it side to side and pull it out. The pile of parts is slowly being assembled. We are definitely making progress. We're on to installing the ball joints. Still waiting on a couple of these boxes to come in, just with a couple more lower ball joints. Let me show you what we've got set up for the installation. So this is the rear lower control arm. The ball joint is on the bottom there, and I've got an installation cup that's going to help it go in. So all we're going to do is use this hammer drill, and we're just going to go ahead and press it in. So it's been a while since I last checked in. Now I think I left you guys off when we were doing the ball joints, and let me show you something. Those of you on Facebook already know, but this is what happens when you just go full send. It's cracked right through. So this ball joint was at an angle, and I just continued to send it anyway. So I had to get a brand new knuckle. And by new knuckle, I mean slightly used. It was a used C6 knuckle. So anyway, we pushed in the new ball joints and then put all the control arms in. I don't even know if I got any footage of that. Then a good buddy of mine came around and we worked till about 11:30 last night, and we put a lot of it back together. It's now about 5:30 in the morning. I'm back out here. I've got to get this done today. You know, that's the problem with these things, is deadlines. I don't really like deadlines. Deadlines mean stress, really. That's how I see it. So I'd rather just work on these things at my own pace, in my own time. But I do have to get the car on the ground, and we have a wheel alignment booked. That's in a couple of days, but I'm not going to be in town. So putting the car back together went pretty smooth. There's really nothing, or no tricks, or no real major issues to deal with. So all we've got left to do is to put on the brake rotors, bolt up the calipers, add some diff fluid, and I think that's it. I think we can finally put the wheels on and get the car on the ground. And that's it. That's the last nut to do. We're all done. So from the editing studio, I realized I didn't film an outro really at all. Probably because I was so tired. So it was a pretty big job. Now, would I do it again? Well, if I had the right tools and a lot of time, maybe, but not anytime soon. Talking about tools, here's a brief clip of the tools I use and the specialty tools. So pause the video. Take a look. If you've got any questions about what tools you may need, feel free to leave a comment. I'll get back to you. Ones of note would be that pilot bearing slide hammer puller, and also the snap ring pliers. If you didn't notice, those were some hefty snap ring pliers. Other than that, it's normal stuff you can find around the place. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time here on Bernie Rubber's Garage. Ciao.